The great meeting hall of the Galactic Confederation buzzed with the voices of 100 different species. Some floated in bubbles of special gas. Others moved on many legs. Some did not move at all, but spoke through machines. In the back corner, almost forgotten, stood the human representatives. Commander Tom Baker watched the meeting with tired eyes. He had been Earth's military advisor to the Confederation for 3 years now. 3 years of being ignored. "The human wishes to speak again," announced the tall blue moderator with a tone that suggested mild boredom. Tom stepped forward. "Thank you, moderator. I must again bring attention to the attacks on the Outer Rim. 23 outposts have gone silent in the last month. This follows a pattern that—" "Pattern?" interrupted Delegate Clo, a crystalline being who had lived for over 500 years. "Humans always see patterns where none exist. Your short lives make you jump at shadows." The hall filled with sounds that passed for laughter among the assembled. "Aliens. The evidence suggests coordinated attacks," Tom continued firmly. "Earth's military analysis indicates Earth has been among the stars for barely 50 years, rumbled Delegate Mars, a gaseous entity contained in a floating metal sphere. "We have known peace for 10,000 years. Your species still thinks in terms of conflict because you haven't evolved beyond your violent instincts." Tom took a deep breath. He had heard this many times before. In the Confederation's eyes, humans were newcomers, weak, primitive, and overly cautious. Their short lives and evolutionary history as both predator and prey made them seem paranoid. To the ancient species that ruled the galaxy, "The motion to increase patrols is denied," the moderator announced. "Instead, we will send diplomatic vessels to investigate these communication disruptions." Tom returned to his seat, frustration building inside him. The Confederation, with its thousands of member species spanning half the galaxy, had known peace for so long they had forgotten what danger looked like. On the red surface of Mars, Dr. Lisa Reed adjusted her equipment inside the dome of Earth's largest off-world research facility. The desert planet had become humanity's second home and scientific hub after joining the Confederation. "Running final analysis now," she told her assistant Ben, as they studied the strange signal patterns they had detected coming from the edge of known space. Ben frowned at the screen. "This doesn't match any known Confederation species." "No," Lisa agreed, "but it does match something else." She pulled up ancient files shared by the Toral, one of the oldest Confederation species. "Look at these records from 30,000 years ago. They called them the Void Eaters." "I thought the Void Eaters were just stories to scare young aliens," Ben said, leaning closer. "Every story has some truth," Lisa replied. "According to the oldest Confederation records, the Void Eaters nearly destroyed galactic civilization before being driven back into the dark spaces between galaxies." Ben looked concerned. "If they're real, and if they're coming back, we need to warn Earth Central," Lisa said, already sending the data package. "And the Confederation too, for whatever good that will do." Captain Mike Stone of the mining vessel, Persistence, watched his crew work the asteroid belt of a distant star system. Earth had been granted mining rights to this unremarkable region precisely because the older species saw little value in it. "Captain, we've got something weird on long-range scanners," called out Emma, his sensor operator. Mike walked over to her station. "Define weird." "A ship, but not like any Confederation design I've ever seen. It's huge, sir." The main screen showed a massive object moving toward them. It looked less like a ship and more like a floating mountain of darkness with strange lights pulsing beneath its surface. "Are they responding to hails?" Mike asked. "No, sir. And there's something else. I'm picking up debris. Lots of it. I think it might be the remains of the Confederation outpost that was supposed to be in this sector." Mike had spent 10 years in Earth's military before joining the mining fleet. His instincts were screaming danger. Sound general quarters. Power up defensive systems. "Sir, Confederation protocols state that we should approach with open communication channels and shields down to show peaceful intent," his first officer reminded him. "I know the protocols," Mike said grimly, "but we're doing this my way, Humans have survived this long by being careful. 3 days later, the Persistence limped into the nearest Confederation station. It was the only surviving ship from the sector. The massive unknown vessel had destroyed everything else, including the diplomatic ships sent to make first contact. According to Confederation protocols, the station's medical bay was crowded with the injured crew from the mining vessel. Mike sat on an examination table while a medical robot treated the burn on his arm. "You fired upon them first," accused a tall Toral representative who had come to interview him. "You violated every Confederation first contact protocol." "With respect," Mike replied. "Those protocols would have gotten us killed. The moment we detected them destroying the outpost, we knew they weren't interested in talking." "You cannot know that," the Toral insisted. "Your actions may have provoked them." Mike laughed bitterly. "My ship is barely intact. Half my crew is injured. We only escaped because we were willing to fight dirty and run. Meanwhile, your diplomatic vessels were destroyed with all hands when they approached with their defenses down." The Toral's crystalline face couldn't show emotion, but its voice cooled noticeably. "The Confederation Council will review this incident. Your primitive human aggression may have started a conflict that could have been avoided." After the Toral left, Mike accessed his communication panel and sent a private message to Earth Command. His military training had taught him to recognize an enemy when he saw one. Whatever these things were, they weren't interested in joining the Confederation. They were here to consume it. At the next emergency Confederation Council meeting, Tom stood again before the assembled delegates. This time they were listening, but only because they wanted someone to blame. "Humans fired the first shots," Delegate Clow stated. "This could have been peaceful contact." "The evidence suggests otherwise," Tom countered. "Dr. Reed's research indicates these are the same entities described in your own ancient records, the Void Eaters. They don't seek diplomatic relations. They consume resources and incorporate other species into their collective. Myths and legends," dismissed Delegate Mars. "Your human mining captain overreacted out of fear and may have started an unnecessary conflict." As the debate continued, a junior aide rushed in and whispered to the moderator, whose color changed to a dark purple, a sign of extreme distress among their species. "The council is adjourned," the moderator announced abruptly. "We have just received word that 3 more systems have gone silent. The unknown ships are advancing toward Confederation core worlds." As the hall erupted in panic, Tom stood quietly. The war had begun, whether the Confederation was ready or not, and something told him that humanity's primitive understanding of conflict might soon become the galaxy's only hope. The Confederation Central Station hung in space like a gleaming silver wheel. Ships from 100 worlds docked at its many ports. But today, the usual calm was gone. News of the strange attacks had spread, causing fear throughout the station. In a small meeting room, Captain Mike Stone faced the Defense Council. His mining ship, Persistence, remained the only vessel to encounter the Void Eaters and survive. "Tell us again about their attack pattern," said Admiral Roy Williams, Earth's highest military officer in the Confederation. Mike stood at the display table showing the recording from his ship. "They didn't communicate at all. No warnings, no demands. They just approached and opened fire. The recording showed a massive dark shape moving toward the camera. Smaller parts of it broke off and surrounded the view. We tried to run, but they were faster. That's when I ordered the mining charges to be ejected. The recording showed bright flashes as explosives meant for breaking asteroids detonated in space." "Mining explosives against a warship?" asked a tall Toral representative, voice full of doubt. "Not to destroy them," Mike explained. "To create a debris field. When the charges blew, they scattered the asteroid fragments we had collected. The enemy ships had to slow down or risk damage." Admiral Williams nodded with approval. "Creating environmental obstacles. Basic Earth naval tactics." "Primitive," muttered the Toral, "but somehow effective." The door slid open, and Commander Tom Baker rushed in. His face was pale. "They've hit Outpost Zeta 9, he announced. "The diplomatic mission was destroyed before they could even send their greeting message." The room fell silent. "How many ships?" asked Admiral Williams. 5 of the large vessels," Tom replied. "And they're heading toward populated systems now." The Toral representative stood up, crystal body catching the light. The Confederation Council is sending the First Fleet to intercept 200 ships, our finest vessels. Will that be enough? Mike asked. No one answered. Dr. Lisa Reed stepped off the transport onto the crystal world of Tora Prime. The Toral homeworld glittered like a diamond under its red sun, a crystal being waited for her at the landing area. Dr. Reed, it greeted her. I am Senior Researcher Krell. Your message about the Void Eaters was disturbing. Thank you for believing me, Lisa said as they walked toward a tall crystal tower. The Confederation Council still thinks humans are overreacting. The Toral have long memories, Krell replied. The stories of the Void Eaters are old, but we do not forget. Come, I will show you our ancient records. Inside the tower, Lisa gasped. The walls were lined with crystal data storage going back thousands of years. Here, Krell said, touching a crystal that glowed in response. The last Void Eater War, 30,000 years ago. Images appeared in the air. Dark ships similar to what Mike had encountered. Worlds burning. Whole species vanishing. They don't just destroy, Krell explained. They consume resources, knowledge, even the consciousness of other beings. What you call a hive mind. How were they defeated? Lisa asked. They weren't, Krell admitted. They simply left. Some believe they moved between galaxies, feeding until resources grow scarce, then moving on. But something brought them back, Lisa said. Krell's crystal form dimmed slightly, the Toral equivalent of a nod. And we must find a way to drive them away again. The First Fleet of the Confederation was the most powerful gathering of ships in known space. 200 vessels arranged in perfect formation, their weapons charged but inactive. Confederation protocol required attempting communication before showing aggression. Admiral Zoll of the mech species commanded from the flagship. The mech were gaseous beings who had not known war for 5,000 years. Enemy vessels approaching, reported an officer. 5 large ships, matching the description from the human reports. Open communication channels, Admiral Zoll ordered. Send our universal greeting. Messages were sent in every known language and mathematical code. The dark ships continued forward without response. Sir, they're accelerating, the officer warned. Maintain position, show them we are not afraid, Admiral Zoll commanded. Raise shields but do not power weapons yet. The dark ships closed rapidly. Then smaller objects began to separate from them, hundreds of them. Sir, energy spike. The first blast tore through the lead Confederation ships before they could activate their weapons. The perfect formation broke apart as ships tried to respond. But the Confederation Navy had trained for coordinated movements and precise maneuvers, not for chaos. In 20 minutes, half the fleet was destroyed. The rest scattered, retreating in disorder. On Earth's moon base, Admiral Williams watched the battle reports with horror. Beside him stood Tom Baker and Mike. Stone, the First Fleet is destroyed, Williams said grimly. Over 100 ships lost. Their tactics were all wrong, Mike said, studying the footage. They stayed in formation too long, made themselves easy targets. The Confederation hasn't fought a real war in thousands of years, Tom explained. Their military is ceremonial, designed for parades and shows of unity. Well, this enemy doesn't care about ceremony, Williams replied. He tapped a command into the console. I'm activating all Earth defense forces, every ship we have. Earth only has 42 military vessels, Tom pointed out, against enemies that just destroyed 200 Confederation ships. Williams smiled, grimly. But our ships are built for actual combat, not ceremonies, and our people know how to fight. He turned to Mike. Captain Stone, I'm recommissioning you into Earth defense. I need captains who have seen these things and lived. What about the mining fleet? Mike asked. Those too, Williams said. Your mining charges tactic gives me an idea. The Admiral brought up a map of nearby space. The Void Eaters are moving. Toward the Toral systems, Confederation forces are in retreat. The Council is in panic. What's the plan? Tom asked. We're going to show the galaxy how humans fight, Williams answered. No fancy formations, no diplomatic attempts, just survival, at any cost. The Confederation won't like it, Tom warned. They don't have to like it, Williams replied. They just have to live through it. Lisa Reed worked frantically in the Toral laboratory. For days she had been studying the ancient records with Krell. The key is their communication, she explained, pointing to her findings. The Void Eaters aren't individual ships. They're extensions of one consciousness. Yes, Krell agreed. That is why they coordinate so perfectly. But that's also a weakness, Lisa said. If we can disrupt their connection. Communication jamming technology is basic, Krell noted. The Confederation has tried it without success. Because they're thinking too simply, Lisa replied. We need to create a signal that doesn't just block communication, it confuses it. She looked up at her Toral colleague. Have you ever heard of Earth's military history? Of how we used deception in warfare? Deception? Krell's crystalline form flickered with confusion. You mean lying? Sometimes winning isn't about being stronger, Lisa said with determination. It's about making your enemy think you're somewhere you're not. As Lisa explained her idea, Krell began to understand why the Void Eaters might have reason to fear humans after all. The emergency meeting of the Confederation Council was chaos. Delegates shouted over each other as reports of more destroyed worlds came in. The Grand Hall, once a place of calm debate, now echoed with fear. The First Fleet is gone, announced the moderator, silencing the room. 3 Toral worlds have fallen. The Void Eaters advanced toward the core systems. Delegate Clo's crystal body dimmed with despair. How do we fight an enemy that destroys our ships before we can even speak to them? In the back of the room, Commander Tom Baker listened quietly. When the shouting resumed, he felt a tap on his shoulder. The moderator's assistant stood there. The Defense Committee requests your presence, the assistant said. Immediately, Tom was led to a small room where 5 of the highest-ranking Confederation officials waited. Among them was the Supreme Commander, a being so old that its original form had been forgotten. Now it existed as a floating light within a containment field. Commander Baker. The Supreme Commander's voice was like distant thunder. We find ourselves in need of human expertise. Tom tried to hide his surprise. I'm at your service. Your Admiral Williams has engaged the Void Eaters with Earth's fleet, said another official. Against our direct orders. And? Tom asked, although he already knew the answer. They've had success, the Supreme Commander admitted. While our forces retreat, your small fleet has managed to slow the enemy advance. We wish to understand why. Tom took a deep breath. Because humans still remember how to fight. We evolved. As both prey and predators, we understand survival when the odds are against us. The officials exchanged looks. We are appointing you as Special Advisor to Confederation Defense, the Supreme Commander announced. Teach us the human way of war. Admiral Williams stood on the bridge of the Earth flagship Defiance. Around him, the crew worked with quiet efficiency. On the main screen, the battle unfolded. Earth's small fleet had been joined by ships from other newer Confederation species, those who still remembered conflict. They fought differently than the ancient races. No perfect formations, no predictable patterns. Mining fleet reports ready, Admiral, reported his communications officer. Tell Captain Stone to begin Operation Hornet's Nest, Williams ordered. At the edge of the battlefield, 20 converted mining ships moved into position. Each carried hundreds of mining explosives, now repurposed as mines. The ships scattered them in the path of the approaching Void Eaters, creating a deadly field of explosives hidden among asteroid debris. When the first Void Eater ship entered the field, multiple explosions damaged its outer hull. As it slowed, the military vessels pounced from hiding places behind larger asteroids. They're adapting, observed Williams, as the enemy changed formation. But so are we. Unlike the rigid command structure of Confederation forces, Earth ships operated with flexible orders. Captains were given objectives but could choose their own methods. When the Void Eaters blocked one approach, humans found another. Sir, Void Eater reinforcements approaching, warned the tactical officer. Signal the fleet to execute scatter, pattern Delta, Williams commanded, and tell our new friends to follow if they want to live. The Earthships broke formation, seemingly fleeing in panic. The Allied alien vessels hesitated, then followed. The Void Eaters pursued, directly into the path of hidden Earth destroyers that unleashed everything they had against the enemy's unprotected rear. In the Toral laboratory, Lisa Reed hadn't slept in 3 days. She and Krell had made a breakthrough. "The signal works in simulations," Lisa said, reviewing the data. "It doesn't just block their communications, it sends false information." Krell's crystal body glowed with excitement. "You call it electronic warfare?" "An old Earth military concept," Lisa explained. "Don't just silence your enemy's communications, make them hear what you want them to hear." Their device was designed to infiltrate the Void Eater's hive mind. Connection. It would send conflicting commands, making parts of the collective work against each other. "But we need to test it on an actual Void Eater ship," Lisa said. "Impossible," Krell replied. "No one can get close enough to—" They were interrupted by an incoming message. Tom Baker's face appeared on the screen. "Dr. Reed, I've been made special. Advisor to Confederation Defense," he said without greeting. "We need your disruptor device immediately." "It's still experimental," Lisa protested. "We haven't tested it on—" "Test it now," Tom cut in. "I'm sending a team. Earth's fleet is holding them back, but we're losing ships every hour." After the call ended, Krell turned to Lisa. "What kind of test did he mean?" Lisa's face was grim. "The kind where failure means death." The Confederation had never seen warfare like this. Under Tom's guidance, battle groups were reorganized. The elegant Confederation vessels were repurposed, their beautiful designs now covered with extra armor welded in place. Decoration was replaced with function. Tom stood in the command center, watching tactical displays from a dozen battles. Everywhere, human officers advised alien captains, teaching them to fight unpredictably. "The Council is concerned about your methods," said an aide, approaching Tom. "Are they concerned about surviving?" Tom asked, without looking away from the displays. "Some question whether these human tactics violate our ethical codes." Tom finally turned. "When did surviving become unethical?" "We do not use deception in warfare," the aide insisted. "We do not hide our intentions. We do not set traps." "And that's why you were losing," Tom replied. "The Void Eaters don't care about your ethics. They care about consuming everything you have." On the main screen, a battle raged around a key junction point. Earth ships were fighting alongside Confederation vessels. But the Earth ships moved differently, hiding behind planets using gravity wells to change direction suddenly, playing dead only to attack when enemies passed. "Your species fights like—" The aide searched for words. "Like we want to win," Tom finished for him. "Like we've been fighting to survive since before we had technology." A message alert sounded. Tom checked it and smiled for the first time in days. "Dr. Reed's disruptor is ready," he announced. "Now we can really show you how humans fight." As the aide watched with a mixture of awe and horror, Tom began giving orders for what humans had once called a special operation. The galaxy was learning that peace was not the natural state of the universe, and they were learning to fear the one species that had never forgotten that fact. A small fleet of ships approached the massive Void Eater vessel. These weren't the elegant Confederation warships. They were Earth vessels, small, heavily armored, and modified with extra weapons attached to their hulls like afterthoughts, Ani. The lead ship, Captain Mike Stone, studied the enemy through the viewscreen. "Remember, we need to get close enough to attach Dr. Reed's device," and he reminded his crew. "Team Alpha will draw their attention. Team Beta will deliver the package." The ships separated. 5 attacked directly, their weapons blazing. The Void Eater turned toward them, its surface rippling as defense systems activated. "They're taking the bait," Mike said into his communicator. "Team Beta, now's your chance." The second group of ships approached from below, using the debris of destroyed vessels as cover. Each move was carefully planned but looked random. The pilots changed speed and direction constantly, making their path impossible to predict. This is how ancient sea pirates used to attack larger ships, Mike explained to his alien second officer. Never approach in a straight line. Never do what the enemy expects. The alien looked confused. But there is no water in space. The principle is the same, Mike replied with a grim smile. Chaos as strategy. In the Confederation Central Command, Commander Tom Baker watched multiple battles unfold across the star map. Human tactics were spreading through the Allied forces. Ships now fought in small groups instead of large formations. They used planets and asteroids for cover. They set traps. The Council has concerns, said Supreme Commander Zill, floating beside Tom. Some of these methods are keeping your people alive, Tom finished. The Toral Fleet just saved one of their colonies using our asteroid mining trap. Yes, but the deception. Has the Council ever studied Earth's military history? Tom interrupted. The ancient Romans used a formation called the testudo, the turtle. Soldiers would lock their shields together for protection while advancing. He pointed to a display showing ships arranged in a similar pattern. We're doing the same in space now. And this? Zill asked, indicating another screen where ships were broadcasting false signals. World War II deception tactics, Tom explained. Making the enemy think your strength is where it isn't. Alarms suddenly blared throughout the command center. Void Eaters have broken through Sector 7, reported an officer. They're heading for Central Station. Fear swept through the room. Central Station was the heart of the Confederation, home to millions of beings from thousands of species. All available ships to defensive positions, ordered Zill. No, Tom countered. That's exactly what they expect. The Supreme Commander's light flickered with anger. This is not the time for your human tricks, Commander Baker. This is exactly the time, Tom insisted. He took control of the communication system. All ships, this is Commander Baker. Execute Plan Wildfire. Instead of forming a defensive line around the station, the ships scattered. Some fled at full speed. Others appeared to malfunction, drifting aimlessly. Some even powered down completely. The Void Eater fleet approached, sensing easy victory. What have you done? Whispered Zill in horror. Watch, Tom replied. As the enemy closed in, the seemingly dead ships suddenly powered up. The drifting vessels changed course sharply. Those that had fled returned from unexpected directions. The Void Eaters found themselves surrounded. Caught in crossfire from all sides, they could not coordinate their defenses. Humans call it playing possum, Tom explained. An animal pretending to be dead until the predator gets close. For the first time since the war began, a major Void Eater attack was repelled without heavy losses. As the enemy retreated, Tom saw something on the faces of the Confederation officers around him. It wasn't just relief, it was fear. Not of the Void Eaters, but of what humans had just shown them. On a distant Void Eater ship, Mike's team worked quickly. They had managed to dock with the massive vessel by disguising their ship as debris. Now they moved through dark corridors, placing Dr. Reed's disruptor devices at key points. 5 minutes until they detect us, warned his second-in-command. Mike nodded. The mission was simple. Place the devices, activate them, and get out. The devices would send conflicting signals into the hive mind, making the ship fight itself as they worked. Mike caught glimpses of the beings inside the ship. They weren't a single species. They were many, captured and absorbed into the collective. Some still looked like the original species they had been. Others were changed with technology grafted onto their bodies. 1 minute, came the warning. Devices placed, Mike confirmed. Activating now. The effect was immediate. Alarms sounded throughout the ship. The lights flickered. The absorbed beings began moving erratically, some fighting each other. Time to go, Mike ordered. As they raced back to their ship, Mike saw confusion spreading through the enemy vessel. Dr. Reed's device was working, breaking the control of the hive mind, creating disorder where there had been perfect unity. In Tuar. The following weeks, the tide of war shifted. The disruptor devices were distributed to all fleets. Each successful mission weakened the Void Eaters' coordination. But what truly changed the galaxy wasn't the technology. It was the way of thinking that humans had brought to the war. In the Great Confederation Hall, delegates gathered to discuss the latest victories. Commander Tom Baker stood with Admiral Williams and Dr. Reed, receiving official recognition for their contributions. "The Void Eaters are retreating from 3 sectors," announced the moderator. "For the first time, we have hope." As the delegates applauded, Tom noticed something strange. Despite their words of thanks, the alien representatives kept a careful distance from the humans. When Admiral Williams moved through the crowd, others stepped back slightly. When Dr. Reed spoke, they listened with intense focus, as if watching a fascinating but dangerous animal. "They're afraid of us," Tom said quietly to Williams. The Admiral nodded. "They've seen how quickly we adapt to war, how comfortable we are with violence when needed." "But we're saving them," Dr. Reed protested. "Yes," Williams agreed, "and that's what scares them most. We've shown the galaxy that peace is maintained not just by good intentions, but by the ability to fight when necessary." As the ceremony continued, the Tyrell representative approached them with a new battle plan. "We have incorporated your guerrilla warfare concepts," the Tyrell said, "and your psychological operations ideas." Tom reviewed the plan and nodded with approval. "You're learning quickly." "We must," the Tyrell replied. "But I must ask, on your world, was there ever a time when you did not need these skills, when you lived in true peace?" The 3 humans exchanged glances. "No," Tom finally answered. "There was never such a time, not in all our history." The Tyrell's crystalline body dimmed slightly. Then perhaps the galaxy was right to fear humans, after all. As the Tyrell moved away, Admiral Williams smiled sadly. "They're beginning to understand. In this universe, the species that survives isn't the strongest or the most peaceful. It's the one most willing to change," Dr. Reed finished. "The one that never forgets how to fight." The war entered its final phase. After months of fighting, the Void Eaters had lost their advantage. Dr. Reed's disruptor technology had spread throughout Confederation forces. Wherever the devices activated, the enemy ships became confused, fighting among themselves. But victory still seemed distant. The Void Eaters were retreating, but slowly. They adapted to each new tactic, learning from their defeats. On the command ship, Defiance, Admiral Williams met with his top officers. Commander Tom Baker, now the highest-ranking human in Confederation forces, stood at his side. Captain Mike Stone joined by video link from his vessel near the front lines. "The disruptors work," Tom explained, "but the Void Eaters are developing countermeasures. Each time we use them, the effect weakens. We need to strike at their center," Mike suggested. "Find the source of the hive mind." Admiral Williams nodded. Dr. Reed believes she's located it. He activated a holographic display showing a massive structure hidden in dark space between 2 spiral arms of the galaxy. It pulsed with strange energy. "We think this is their central node," Williams explained, "the heart of the collective consciousness." "Too big to attack directly," Tom observed. "The combined fleets couldn't destroy something that size." "We don't need to destroy it," Williams replied with a small smile. "We just need to change it." Dr. Reed's face appeared on screen. She looked tired but excited. "The disruptors were just the beginning," she said. "I've been working with the Tyrell scientists on something new, a master disruptor that can affect their entire network at once." "How do we deliver it?" Mike asked. "That's the hard part," Reed admitted. "It needs to be installed directly into their central node, a suicide mission." The room fell silent. "Not necessarily," Mike said finally. "I have an idea." The Tyrell laboratory hummed with activity as Dr. Reed made final adjustments to the master disruptor. Krell watched nervously. "Your plan has a very low probability of success," the crystal being noted. "Low but not zero," Reed replied. "That's all humans have ever needed." The device they had created was beautiful in its simplicity. Rather than trying to destroy the Void Eaters, it would sever their connection to the central mind. freeing each captured being to think for itself again. In your Earth history, Krell asked, did you ever face an enemy like this? One that seemed impossible to defeat? Reed thought for a moment. Many times. We've fought against overwhelming odds throughout our history. Sometimes we lost. But we always survived. That is what frightens the Confederation most about humans, Krell admitted. Not your capacity for violence, but your refusal to accept defeat. Reed smiled sadly. When your planet has predators that want to eat you, storms that can destroy your home, diseases that can wipe out your people, you learn to keep fighting no matter what. A message arrived. The Special Forces team was ready. It was time. Mike Stone's ship drifted among the debris of a destroyed moon. 20 other vessels floated nearby, all appearing dead or damaged. They had spent days making their ships look like casualties from a previous battle. Now they waited as a Void Eater collector ship approached. These ships gathered resources from battlefields, including damaged vessels that could be absorbed into the collective. Hold positions, Mike ordered quietly. No power signatures until my mark. The collector extended long tendrils, pulling in pieces of debris. It moved closer to the seemingly dead human ships. Steady, Mike whispered. Let it take us. The tendrils wrapped around several ships, including Mike's. They were drawn slowly toward the massive collector. Still holding, Mike said as his ship was pulled inside the dark hull of the enemy vessel. Team 1, prepare to move. Once inside, small teams of soldiers in special suits exited their ships. They moved silently through the collector, planting smaller versions of Reed's disruptors as they went. Phase 1 complete, Mike reported hours later. We're inside their network, moving to Phase 2. The collector ship, now unknowingly carrying the human strike force, rejoined the main Void Eater fleet. From there, it traveled deeper into enemy territory, eventually reaching the central node, exactly as Mike had planned. In Confederation Central Command, Tom Baker and Admiral Williams watched the operation unfold. The display showed Mike's team approaching the heart of the Void Eater consciousness. They've reached the central chamber, reported a communications officer. Mike's voice came through, broken by static. Master disruptor in position. Beginning activation sequence. The next minutes were the longest of Tom's life. If the plan failed, humanity's best soldiers would be lost, and the war would continue. Activation complete, came Mike's voice finally. Effect spreading throughout the network. We're seeing something strange. The absorbed beings, they're waking up. On screens across the command center, they watched as Void Eater ships stopped attacking. Some drifted aimlessly. Others turned away from battle. The massive central node pulsed with erratic energy as its control over the collective weakened. Get out of there, Mike, Williams ordered. Working on it, Mike replied. But you need to see this. These aren't invaders, they're refugees, fleeing from something beyond our galaxy. What do you mean? Tom asked. The beings here, they were forced into the collective. Something was controlling them, using them, and now we've freed them. 1 month later, the war was officially declared over. The Void Eater ships had either retreated into deep space or had been captured, their crews now free of the hive mind's control. In the Great Confederation Hall, representatives from all species gathered to mark the occasion. Humanity was honored, with a special place at the center of the hall, a position usually reserved for the oldest member species. Admiral Williams and Tom Baker stood with Dr. Reed and Captain Mike Stone, accepting the gratitude of the galaxy. Without humans, the moderator announced, the Confederation would have fallen. We owe our continued existence to your unique approach to warfare. As applause filled the hall, Tom noticed something interesting. The other species still kept their distance from the humans, but it was different now. Not just fear, but respect. Even awe. Later at the reception, the Supreme Commander approached them. The Confederation is changing its defense policies, the ancient being said. We are establishing a permanent military force using human training methods. A wise decision, Admiral Williams replied. There is something we must ask, the commander continued. In freeing the Void Eaters from their control, you mentioned something else, something beyond our galaxy that they were fleeing from. Should we be concerned? The four humans exchanged glances. The universe is vast, Tom said carefully, and rarely peaceful. Being prepared is never a bad idea. After the commander moved away, Mike turned to his friends. They're starting to understand what we've always known, he said quietly. What's that? Asked Dr. Reed. That survival isn't guaranteed, Mike replied. It must be earned again and again by those willing to fight for it. As they looked out at the gathered representatives of 1,000 peaceful worlds, they knew the galaxy would never view humans the same way again. No longer the primitive newcomers. Now they were the species that had saved civilization, by remembering how to fight when others had forgotten. The species that survived.